The phone rang at 3:17 a.m. I know the exact time because I was staring at my alarm clock wondering who the hell calls at 3 in the morning unless someone's dead or dying. My hand trembled as I reached for my phone, squinting at the unknown number with a California area code. "Is this Jake Martinez?" The voice was official, cold. "Police." "Yeah, that's me." My throat felt like sandpaper. "This is Officer Rodriguez with the California Highway Patrol. We found your stolen vehicle in a ditch off Interstate 5 about 20 miles south of Fresno." My stolen vehicle. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. Because technically, yeah, I'd reported my 1995 Mustang GT stolen. But what I hadn't told the police was who stole it. There was a female passenger inside, unconscious. She's been transported to Fresno Community Hospital in critical condition. The room started spinning. "Female passenger?" "Yes, sir. ID says Megan Martinez. Any relation?" I closed my eyes. The phone felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. "Sir? Are you there?" "She's..." I swallowed hard. "She's my sister." The silence on the other end lasted forever. Then, "Sir, I need to ask you something. When you reported this vehicle stolen yesterday, did you know your sister had taken it?" My hands were shaking now. 28 years old, and I felt like a scared kid again. The kind of scared you get when you know you've done something that can't be undone. "Yes," I whispered. "You reported your own sister for auto theft?" I wanted to hang up. I wanted to pretend this call never happened. I wanted to go back to 3 days ago and make different choices. But here I was, sitting in my dark apartment at 3 a.m., having to explain to a stranger why I'd essentially sent the police after my own blood. "It's complicated," I said. "I bet it is, son. I bet it is. Officer Rodriguez told me Megan was stable but serious. BR, oaken ribs, concussion, internal bleeding. The car was totaled, wrapped around a tree after she'd apparently fled a traffic stop going 90 miles per hour. After I hung up, I sat there in the dark for an hour, staring at nothing. My neighbors probably thought I was crazy, the way I kept running my hands through my hair and muttering to myself. Because here's the thing, nobody tells you about family. Sometimes the people who are supposed to love you the most are the ones who hurt you the deepest. And sometimes, loving someone means calling the cops on them. Megan wasn't always like this. Growing up, she was my little shadow. 3 years younger, blonde curls bouncing as she followed me around our crappy 2-bedroom apartment in East Oakland. She'd beg me to let her help when I was working on bicycles in our parking spot, handing me wrenches with grease-stained fingers and that gap-toothed grin. But somewhere between middle school and high school, my sweet little sister turned into someone I barely recognized. Maybe it was our parents' divorce when she was 14. Maybe it was the crowd she started running with. Or maybe some people are just wired different. All I know is that by the time Megan turned 16, everything became about what she could get from you. Our parents always made excuses for her. When she crashed Dad's truck, it was just an accident. When she got caught shoplifting, she was going through a phase. When she dropped out of college after one semester, she was finding herself. Meanwhile, I was working double shifts at Rodriguez Auto Repair, saving every penny for the car I'd been dreaming about since I was 12 years old. A 1995 Mustang GT, candy apple red with black racing stripes. I'd found her rusted and broken in a junkyard, but I saw the potential. Took me 3 years to restore her. 3 years of 16-hour days, eating ramen noodles for dinner, skipping movies with friends because every dollar went toward parts, new engine block, rebuilt transmission, custom paint job. I did myself in my buddy Marcus's garage. That car wasn't just transportation. She was proof that I could take something broken and make it beautiful. She was my independence, my pride, my escape from a family that always seemed to revolve around Megan's latest crisis. When I finally got her running, the rumble of that V8 engine was the sweetest sound I'd ever heard. Megan was 23 when I finished the restoration. I remember her walking around my car that first day, running her fingers along the hood, making all the right noises about how amazing it looked. "Jake, this is incredible. You're so talented." I actually believed she meant it. "Can I drive it sometime?" she asked, batting those blue eyes that had gotten her out of trouble 1,000 times before. I should have said no right then. Should have told her what I told everyone else. Nobody drives my car but me. But she was my sister. And despite everything, some stupid part of me still wanted her approval. Maybe, I said, when you get your insurance sorted out. Her insurance had been suspended for unpaid tickets, again. That maybe turned into months of her asking, then begging, then guilt-tripping. Come on, Jake. We're family. I just need to borrow it for a few hours. I always said no, always found an excuse, and every time I'd see that flash of anger in her eyes before she'd force a smile and say she understood. But I should have known better, because Megan had never been the type to take no for an answer. 3 days before everything went to hell, Megan showed up at my apartment at 11 p.m., crying. I opened the door to find her standing in the hallway with a black eye, masky, era streaked down her cheeks, clutching a duffel bag like her life depended on it. Jake, I need help. My big brother instincts kicked in immediately. Jesus, Megan, what happened? Who did this to you? It's Derek, she sobbed, pushing past me into my living room. He's been hitting me. I can't go back there. I can't. Derek was her boyfriend of 6 months, some wannabe rock star with neck tattoos and anger issues. I'd met him once and immediately hated his smug face and the way he talked to my sister like she was property. Did you call the cops? No, Jake, you don't understand. He said if I called the police, he'd kill me. He has friends, bad friends. She collapsed on my couch, shaking. I just need somewhere to stay for a few days, just until I figure out what to do. What was I supposed to say? She's my sister. She was hurt and scared, and despite all our history, I wasn't going to turn her away when she needed me most. Of course. You can take the couch. The relief in her eyes looked genuine. Thank you. I knew you'd be there for me. That first night, everything seemed normal. We ordered pizza, watched Netflix, and for a few hours it felt like we were kids again. She even helped me organize my toolbox, something she'd never shown interest in before. But by the second day, I started noticing things. The way she kept glancing at my car keys hanging by the front door, how she asked casual questions about my work schedule. What time do you leave for the shop again? And, you're working Saturday too, right? On the third morning, I caught her in my bedroom standing by my dresser where I kept my wallet and spare keys. Looking for something? I asked from the doorway. She jumped like I'd caught her stealing. Oh, Jake, you scared me. I thought I left my phone charger in here. Her phone charger was plugged into the wall outlet 3 feet away from where she was standing. Megan? What? But she wouldn't meet my eyes. Is everything okay? I mean, really okay? She forced that same smile she'd been giving me since we were kids, the one that said she was about to lie to my face. Everything's fine, Jake. I'm just stressed, you know? Still scared Derek might find me. I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to believe that my sister had finally learned from her mistakes, that she was genuinely trying to get her life together. But something in my gut was screaming that this was all wrong. When I left for work that morning, I made sure to pocket both sets of my car keys, just in case. Because the one thing I'd learned about Megan over the years was that when she wanted something, she'd find a way to get it. And she'd been staring at my Mustang a little too long. My alarm went off at 5:30 a.m. like it did every morning. I stumbled out of bed, made coffee, and grabbed my keys from the kitchen counter where I'd left them the night before. Megan was still asleep on the couch, curled under my old army blanket, looking peaceful for once. I opened my front door and looked out at the parking spot where my Mustang should have been. Empty asphalt stared back at me. For a second, my brain couldn't process what I was seeing. I actually rubbed my eyes and looked again, like my car might magically reappear. Nothing. My heart started hammering against my ribs. I ran back inside, checking every surface for my spare keys. Gone. The little magnetic hide-a-key box I kept under the rear bumper. I knew she'd found it. Megan! I shook her shoulder. Megan, wake up! She stirred, blinking up at me with fake, innocent eyes. Jake? What's wrong? Where's my car? What do you mean? Don't play dumb with me. Where's my fucking car? She sat up slowly, and that's when I saw the piece of paper folded under her pillow. She tried to grab it, but I was faster. The note was written in her loopy handwriting. Jake, I'm sorry, but I really needed to borrow the car for a quick errand. I know you would have said no, but this is important. I'll have it back by noon, I promise. Don't be mad. M. I stared at the note until the words blurred together. A quick errand? Megan, what errand requires my car at 5 a.m.? I can't tell you, but I promise it's nothing bad. I just need to pick something up. Pick what up? From where? She was getting dressed now, pulling on jeans and avoiding my eyes. Jake, please. Just trust me this once. Trust you? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. You stole my car. I borrowed it. There's a difference. Not legally, there isn't. That got her attention. She turned to face me, and for a split second I saw something cold in her expression, something calculating. You wouldn't call the cops on your own sister. It wasn't a question. It was a challenge. I called in sick to work and spent the day pacing my apartment, checking my phone every 5 minutes. Noon came and went, then 2 p.m., then 6 p.m. By 8 p.m., I was calling her phone every 10 minutes, straight to voicemail every time. By midnight, I was imagining her wrapped around a tree somewhere, or selling my car to some drug dealer to pay off Derek's debts, or any of 1,000 other disasters that seemed completely possible when it came to my sister. I barely slept that night. Every sound from the parking lot had me running to the window, hoping to see those familiar headlights pulling in. But morning came, and my parking spot was still empty. 18 hours. Megan had been gone with my car for 18 hours, with no word, no explanation, and no sign that she was ever coming back. That's when I started thinking about consequences. About how many times I'd let her slide because she's family. About how our parents had created this monster by never making her face the results of her actions. And that's when I picked up my phone and dialed 911. Because sometimes being a good brother means being the bad guy. Mayor 1, what's your emergency? I sat there with the phone pressed to my ear, my finger hovering over the end call button. Last chance to back down. Last chance to be the pushover big brother who always cleaned up Megan's messes. Sir, are you there? Yeah, I'm here. I need to report a stolen vehicle. The words felt like glass coming out of my mouth. The dispatcher was professional, efficient. Make and model, license plate number. When did you discover it missing? Any idea who might have taken it? That last question nearly broke me. I think it was my sister. Silence on the other end. Then, Sir, did you give your sister permission to use your vehicle? No. She took my keys while I was sleeping and left a note saying she'd bring it back. That was yesterday morning. I haven't heard from her since. And you want to press charges? I closed my eyes. Pressed charges. Against Megan. Against the little girl who used to fall asleep in my lap during Saturday morning cartoons. Yes. 2 officers showed up at my apartment 20 minutes later. Officer Chen was probably my age. Looked like he'd seen this kind of family drama before. His partner, Officer Williams, was older, gray around the temples, tired eyes that said he'd been dealing with people's worst decisions for decades. They asked me to describe Megan, what she was wearing, any places she might go. I gave them her phone number, her address, Derek's information. They took notes like this was just another case file, not my family falling apart in real time. Any history of drug use? Officer Chen asked. The question hit me like a slap. Because yeah, there was history. Nothing I could prove, but the signs had been there for months. The weight loss, the mood swings, the constant need for money. Maybe, I said. I've suspected, but she's never admitted it. What about the boyfriend, Derek Morrison? He's bad news, criminal record, I think. My sister says he hits her, but... I trailed off, realizing how that sounded. Officer Williams looked up from his notepad. But what? But she lies. About everything. I don't know what's true anymore. They finished their report and told me they'd put out a bolo, be on the lookout, for my car and my sister. They'd check her known addresses first, then expand the search if needed. After they left, I sat in my empty apartment and tried to figure out how I'd gotten here, how loving someone could lead to calling the police on them. My phone rang around 10 p.m., Mom's number. Jake, what the hell is wrong with you? Megan had called her. Of course she had. Mom, she stole my car. She's been gone she borrowed it. She's your sister, Jake. Your sister. And you called the police on her like she's some common criminal. She is a criminal, Mom. She committed a crime. It's a car, Jake, a stupid car. That stupid car that I'd worked 3 years to restore. That stupid car that represented every sacrifice I'd made, every 16-hour day, every time I'd chosen responsibility over fun. It's not just about the car. Then what is it about? I wanted to explain. About enabling, about consequences, about how their constant excuses had turned Megan into someone who thought she could take whatever she wanted without facing the results. Instead, I said, she needs to learn. She could go to jail. Maybe she should. Mom hung up on me. Dad called an hour later, then my aunt, then my cousin, the whole family taking sides, choosing Megan like they always did. But I was done being the responsible one who cleaned up her messes, done being the brother who sacrificed everything so she could keep making the same mistakes over and over. Or if that made me the bad guy, so be it. Detective Sarah Morrison called me the next afternoon. Mr. Martinez, I'm following up on your stolen vehicle report. We've got some developments you need to know about. I was at work, trying to focus on rebuilding an engine block, but my hands had been shaking all morning. Every time the phone rang, I jumped. Did you find her? Not yet, but we've been tracking your sister's movements through credit card records and security footage. What she's been doing might surprise you. Detective Morrison asked me to come down to the station. 20 minutes later, I was sitting in a small conference room, staring at printouts spread across a metal table. Credit card receipts, gas station timestamps, ATM withdrawals. Your sister's been traveling east, the detective said, pointing to a map with red pins. Las Vegas, Flagstaff, Albuquerque. She's not running from an abusive boyfriend, Mr. Martinez. She's running toward someone. My stomach dropped. Toward who? Derek Morrison. She paused. He's my nephew, by the way, which is why I wanted to handle this personally. The room felt like it was tilting. Your nephew? Derek's been in trouble since he was 15. Drugs mostly. Dealing, using, you name it. He's currently wanted on a parole violation in New Mexico. She slid a photograph across the table. Security camera footage from a gas station in Flagstaff. Megan laughing, her arms around Derek's neck. No black eye, no fear, no sign of the terrified abuse victim who'd shown up at my door. This was taken yesterday morning, about 6 hours after your car was reported stolen. I stared at the image until my eyes watered. My sister looked happy, carefree, like she was on vacation instead of running from a violent boyfriend. There's more. Detective Morrison pulled out her phone and showed me a social media post. Derek's Instagram account, posted 18 hours earlier. The photo showed my Mustang parked outside a motel in Albuquerque. The caption read, "Road trip to Cali with my girl. Life is good when you've got wheels." My car, my fucking car, being used as a prop for this asshole's social media. They're heading to California, the detective continued. Derek's got connections there. People who can help him disappear until the heat dies down on his parole violation. So everything she told me was a lie. The black eye was real. But it wasn't from Derek hitting her in anger. Look at this. She showed me another photo, this one from Derek's phone that had been recovered during a previous arrest. Megan and Derek in what looked like some kind of fight club or underground boxing setup. She was wearing gloves, grinning, clearly a willing participant. Your sister likes to fight, Mr. Martinez. For money. It's how she and Derek have been funding their drug habit. The room started spinning. The sweet little sister who used to cry when she stepped on bugs was beating people up for drug money. How long has this been going on? Based on what we can piece together, at least 8 months, maybe longer. 8 months of lies. 8 months of her coming to family dinners, accepting birthday gifts, pretending to be looking for work while she was actually running some kind of underground fighting scam with her criminal boyfriend. Detective, I need to ask you something. Shoot. If they catch her, when they catch her, what happens? Detective Morrison leaned back in her chair. Auto theft across state lines is a federal crime, Mr. Martinez. If they make it to California, this becomes an FBI case. We're talking serious prison time. I thought about Megan in federal prison. Orange jumpsuit, concrete walls, years of her life gone. Then I thought about the photo of her laughing next to my stolen car. Good, I said. And for the first time in days, I meant it. The call came at 3:17 a.m., exactly 48 hours after Megan first disappeared. I've already told you about that conversation with Officer Rodriguez, about admitting I'd reported my own sister, about learning she was unconscious in a hospital 500 miles away. What I didn't tell you was what happened next. After I hung up with the California Highway Patrol, I sat there in the dark trying to process what I'd just heard. Megan was alive, but barely. My car was totaled. And somehow, this was all my fault. I called Detective Morrison's emergency line. Martinez? Jesus, what time is it? They found her. And Detective, it's bad. I could hear her moving around, probably getting dressed. Where? California. She crashed trying to run from a traffic stop. She's in the ICU. Silence. Then, I'll make some calls. Get me more details. Over the next hour, the full story came together through a series of phone calls with California police, hospital staff, and Detective Morrison's contacts in the FBI. Megan and Derek had made it to California, just like we'd predicted. They'd been staying in a motel outside Fresno, using my car to run drugs between different suppliers. Small-time stuff, but enough to fund their lifestyle. The traffic stop was supposed to be routine. California Highway Patrol spotted my Mustang. The BOLO alert had gone nationwide and tried to pull them over on a lonely stretch of Interstate 5. Derek was driving. He was high on methamphetamine, paranoid, convinced this was his third strike and he'd go away for life. So he ran, 90 miles per hour through twisting mountain roads. Megan in the passenger seat screaming at him to stop, to pull over, to think about what he was doing. The crash happened when Derek tried to take a curve at Fuamo, L-speed. My beautiful Mustang, the car I'd spent 3 years of my life restoring, went airborne and wrapped itself around an oak tree. Derek died on impact. Megan was thrown from the car, she hadn't been wearing a seatbelt, and landed in a ditch 20 feet away. Broken ribs, collapsed lung, internal bleeding, severe concussion. When the paramedics found her, she was unconscious, clutching Derek's phone. Her last text message sent to his dealer in Los Angeles read, "On our way, have the money ready." The attending physician at Fresno Community Hospital called me at 6 a.m. "Mr. Martinez, this is Dr. Patel. I'm treating your sister." "How is she?" "Stable, but critical. The next 24 hours will tell us a lot." "Mr. Martinez, I need to ask, do you want to be listed as her emergency contact?" The question stopped me cold. After everything she'd done, after all the lies and manipulation and theft, she'd still listed me as her emergency contact. "Yes," I said. "There's something else. Your sister has been asking for you. She's been in and out of consciousness, but every time she wakes up, she asks if Jake is coming." I looked around my empty apartment, at the empty parking spot visible through my window, at the family photos on my bookshelf, back when we were kids, and everything was simpler. Tell her I'm on my way. But first, I had a choice to make. The DA's office had called Detective Morrison. With Derek dead and Megan in the ICU, they were ready to move forward with federal charges. Auto theft, drug trafficking, conspiracy. She was looking at 10 to 15 years. All I had to do was nothing. Let the system handle it. Let my sister face the consequences of her choices. Or I could ask them to drop the charges, claim I'd given her permission to use the car, that this was all a misunderstanding. I stared at my phone for an hour, trying to decide which choice I could live with. The flight to Fresno was the longest 3 hours of my life. I kept thinking about the last thing Megan had said to me before she disappeared with my car. "You wouldn't call the cops on your own sister." She'd been wrong about that. But sitting on that plane, 30,000 feet above the desert, I wasn't sure if I'd made the right choice or the worst mistake of my life. Fresno Community Hospital smelled like disinfectant and desperation. The ICU was on the 4th floor, all beeping machines and hushed voices. I gave my name to the nurse, showed my ID, and followed her down a hallway lined with rooms full of people hanging on to life by threads. Megan was in room 417. Nothing could have prepared me for what I saw when I walked through that door. My little sister, the one who used to do cartwheels in our living room and beg me to push her higher on the swings, was connected to more tubes and wires than I could count. Her face was swollen beyond recognition, purple and yellow bruises covering every inch of visible skin. But her eyes were open, and when she saw me, they filled with tears. "Jake." Her voice was barely a whisper, distorted by the breathing tube they'd removed that morning. I pulled a chair next to her bed and sat down. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. "What do you say to someone who stole from you, lied to you, and nearly died because of choices they made?" "I'm sorry," she said finally. "Which part are you sorry for, Megan?" She closed her eyes. When she opened them again, tears were streaming down her bruised cheeks. All of it. The car, the lies, Derek. She paused, struggling to breathe. "I never meant for it to go this far." "How far did you think it would go? You stole my car to run drugs across the country with your criminal boyfriend. What exactly did you think was going to happen?" "I thought we'd be back before you woke up." I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You thought you'd drive to California and back in one night?" "No, I—" She was crying harder now. "Jake, I'm addicted to meth. Have been for almost a year." The words hit me like a physical blow. I'd suspected, but hearing her say it out loud made it real. "Derek got me started. Said it would help me lose weight, give me energy. And it did at first. But then I needed more, and the only way to get money was fighting, Detective Morrison told me." Megan's eyes went wide. "She told you about that?" "She told me about all of it. The underground fights, Derek's parole violation, your little road trip to California. Everything you told me about him being abusive was bullshit, wasn't it?" "No." She tried to sit up, but the pain stopped her. "He did hit me, Jake. Just not the way I said. We fought each other for money, and sometimes he'd get carried away during training. But I let him. I wanted the money. For drugs. For drugs." We sat in silence for a few minutes. Machines beeped. Nurses walked past in the hallway. I watched my sister's chest rise and fall, and tried to figure out how we'd gotten here. "Jake, I need to tell you something else." "More lies?" "No. The truth. The real truth." She was looking directly at me now, her swollen eyes as serious as I'd ever seen them. "I didn't just steal your car. I was going to sell it." My blood went cold. "What?" "Derek knew a guy in Los Angeles who would give us 50 grand for a restored Mustang, no questions asked. We were going to use the money to buy enough meth to deal our way up the chain. Maybe start our own operation. 50 grand. 3 years of my life, every sacrifice I'd made, reduced to drug money for my sister's habit. You would have sold my car. Yes. And never told me. I thought about making up a story, saying it was stolen from me, or that Derek took it without me knowing. But yes, I would have let you think it was gone forever." I stood up, walked to the window, looked out at the parking lot where families were saying goodbye to dying relatives and trying to hold their lives together. "Megan, the police want to charge you with federal crimes. Auto theft, drug trafficking, conspiracy. You're looking at 10 to 15 years in prison. I know. They asked me if I want to press charges." She was quiet for so long I thought she'd fallen asleep. When I turned around, she was staring at the ceiling. "What did you tell them?" "I told them I needed time to think." "And what are you thinking?" I looked at my sister, really looked at her. Past the bruises and the tubes and the hospital gown, I saw the little girl who used to follow me everywhere. But I also saw the woman who'd been planning to steal my most precious possession and sell it for drug money. "I'm thinking that maybe prison is exactly what you need." She nodded slowly. "Maybe you're right. But I'm also thinking that maybe there's another way." Hope flickered in her eyes. "What way?" "You plead guilty. You go to rehab. Real rehab, not some 30-day vacation. You get clean. You get a job. You pay me back every penny this whole thing has cost me." "Jake, I'm not finished. You do all of that, and I'll ask the DA to recommend treatment instead of prison. But if you screw this up, if you lie to me again, if you so much as look at another drug, I'll personally drive you to the federal courthouse and watch them lock you up." She was crying again. "You do that for me?" After everything? I'm not doing it for you, Megan. I'm doing it because someone has to break the cycle. Someone has to make you face consequences while giving you a chance to fix your life. What if I can't? What if I'm too far gone? I sat back down and took her hand. It was so small, so fragile, covered in cuts and bruises from the crash. Then you'll go to prison, and I'll visit you every month until you get out, because that's what brothers do. Even after I stole from you? Especially after you stole from me. She squeezed my hand as tight as she could manage. I want to get clean, Jake. I really do. Then prove it. 6 months later, I was sitting in a courtroom in Fresno, California, watching my sister take responsibility for her choices. The federal prosecutor was a woman named Sarah Chen, no relation to the officer who'd taken my initial report. She was tough, professional, and had initially wanted to throw the book at Megan. Auto theft across state lines, conspiracy to distribute narcotics, possession with intent to sell, she'd told me during our meeting 3 weeks earlier. Ms. Martinez is looking at a minimum of 8 years in federal prison. But things had changed since that conversation. Megan had pleaded guilty to all charges. She'd spent 4 months in a county lockup, then 2 months in a residential treatment facility that specialized in methamphetamine addiction. She'd attended every court hearing, every therapy session, every drug test, and she'd passed them all. Your Honor, her court-appointed attorney was saying, my client has demonstrated genuine remorse and a commitment to rehabilitation that goes far beyond what the court requires. Judge Patricia Williams, a stern woman in her 60s who'd been dealing with drug cases for decades, looked down at Megan from the bench. Ms. Martinez, you've heard the prosecutor's recommendations. You've heard your attorney's arguments. Do you have anything to say before I impose sentence? Megan stood up. She looked different than she had in the hospital, healthier, stronger, but also humbled in a way I'd never seen before. Your Honor, I know that sorry doesn't fix what I did. I stole from my brother, the one person who always believed in me, even when I didn't believe in myself. I put his life at risk by involving him in my crimes. I contributed to drug trafficking that hurts communities and families. Her voice was steady, clear. The girl who used to lie her way out of everything was telling the absolute truth. I can't undo any of that, but I can promise you, and I can promise my brother, that I will spend the rest of my life making up for it. Not just with words, but with actions. Judge Williams nodded. Ms. Martinez, given your guilty plea, your cooperation with law enforcement, and the strong recommendation from the treatment facility, I'm sentencing you to 2 years in federal prison, suspended, with 5 years of supervised probation. Megan's legs nearly gave out. Suspended sentence meant no prison time as long as she followed the terms of her probation. You will continue in outpatient treatment. You will maintain employment. You will submit to random drug testing. You will make full restitution to your brother for the vehicle and all associated costs. And Ms. Martinez? Yes, Your Honor? If you violate any term of this probation, you will serve the full 2-year sentence plus any additional time for new crimes. Do you understand? Yes, Your Honor. After court, Megan and I sat in my rental car in the courthouse parking lot. Neither of us spoke for a long time. Thank you, she said finally. Don't thank me yet. You've got 5 years to prove this wasn't a mistake. I know. She was looking out the window, watching other families deal with their own legal dramas. Jake, I got a job offer. Where? The treatment center where I was staying. They want me to work in their intake department, helping new patients get settled. It's not much money, but it's something I'm good at calling. I looked at my sister. Really looked at her. The hollow cheeks and dead eyes were gone, replaced by something I hadn't seen in years. Hope. That's good, Megan. Really good. I've been calculating how much I owe you. The car repairs, the deductible, the plane tickets, the legal fees. It's about $48,000. The number hit me like a punch. $48,000, nearly 2 years of my salary. At minimum wage, working full-time, it'll take me about 4 years to pay you back. But I will pay you back, every penny. Megan. No, Jake, let me finish. I know you could have let me go to prison. I know I deserve to go to prison. But you gave me a chance instead. Not because I earned it, but because you love me. She was crying now. but not the manipulative tears I'd seen so many times before. These were different. Real. I'm going to prove that your love wasn't wasted on me. I reached over and squeezed her shoulder. It better not be. 3 months later, she made her first payment. $200, handed to me in an envelope along with her first clean drug test results and a letter from her supervisor saying she was Employee of the Month. It wasn't much, but it was a start. 1 year later, I'm standing in my driveway, looking at my restored Mustang GT. She's beautiful again, better than she was before actually. The insurance settlement covered most of the repairs, and I used the extra money to upgrade a few things I'd always wanted to change. New sound system, performance exhaust, racing seats. But the best part isn't the car. The best part is watching Megan wash the chrome bumper, the same way she used to help me work on bicycles when we were kids. Make sure you get that spot there, I tell her, pointing to a stubborn water stain. I see it, she grins, spraying me with the hose. Perfectionist. It's been exactly 1 year since the crash, 12 months since I sat in that hospital room and had to decide whether to save my sister or let the system destroy her. She's been clean for 14 months now, works full-time at the treatment center, has her own apartment, even started taking community college classes in addiction counseling. She makes her payments to me religiously, $200 a month plus interest plus a little extra when she can afford it. More importantly, she's been honest about everything. Her triggers, her temptations, the days when she wants to use so badly she can barely function. She calls me on those days, sometimes at 3 in the morning, and we talk until the feeling passes. Jake, can I ask you something? She's sitting on my front steps now, drying her hands on an old towel. Shoot. Do you ever regret not letting me go to prison? It's a question she's asked me a dozen times in different ways, and my answer has evolved over the months. No. But not for the reasons you think. What do you mean? I sit down next to her, looking out at the street where we used to play as kids. I don't regret it because prison wouldn't have fixed you. It would have just delayed the problem. Sooner or later, you were going to have to face your addiction and make a choice about what kind of person you wanted to be. But I could have made that choice in prison. Maybe, but you also could have come out worse than when you went in. Prison changes people, Megan, not always for the better. She nods thoughtfully. What if I hadn't gotten clean? What if I'd screwed up the probation? Then you'd be in federal prison right now, and I'd be visiting you every month like I promised. Even though I betrayed you? I look at my sister, my healthy, sober, employed sister who's been fighting every day to rebuild her life. And I think about the scared, desperate girl who showed up at my door a year ago with a black eye and a duffel bag full of lies. Megan, here's what I've learned about family. Love isn't about never getting hurt. It's not about never being disappointed or betrayed or lied to. Love is about what you do after those things happen. What do you mean? I mean that calling the police on you was an act of love. Refusing to let you sell my car for drug money was an act of love. Making you face consequences was an act of love. And giving you a chance to rebuild was an act of love too. She's quiet for a long moment. I never thought about it that way. Our parents never learned that lesson. They confused enabling with love. They thought protecting you from consequences was the same as caring about you. But all they did was teach you that someone else would always clean up your messes. And you taught me that no one would. I taught you that I would help you clean up your own messes, but only if you were willing to do the work. Megan stands up, brushes off her jeans, and looks at my Mustang gleaming in the afternoon sun. She really is beautiful, Jake. Yeah, she is. I'm sorry I almost took her away from you. I know you are. And I'm sorry I almost took myself away from you too. That's the part that still keeps me awake sometimes. Not the car, not the money, not even the lies. The fact that I almost lost my sister forever, either to drugs, to prison, or to that crash on Interstate 5. Jake? Yeah? Thank you for loving me enough to call the cops on me. I put my arm around her shoulders, and for a moment, we're just two kids again. Siblings who've been through hell together and somehow made it out the other side. That's what big brothers are for. If you're dealing with a family member who's struggling with addiction, or if someone you love keeps taking advantage of your kindness, let me tell you something. Enabling isn't love. Protecting someone from the consequences of their choices isn't helping them. It's hurting them. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is the hardest thing you can do. Sometimes you have to be willing to be the bad guy in order to save someone you love. And sometimes, just sometimes, it actually works. Tell me in the comments, would you have called the police on your own sister? Or would you have kept making excuses until it was too late?